In my previous videos, I've gone back through the video and walked you through my process, and sometimes I've sped up the video so that you don't have to sit through me, doing all these touch-ups in the water, stuff like that. So this one is just a live walkthrough, just a recording of me doing what I do with my photos and just kind of blabbing about that. So hopefully this is something you'd enjoy. I actually was kind of surprised how much I enjoyed it. So if this is something people like, leave a comment below that you'd like more of this for sure, or give a thumbs up on it. And I'll keep doing these probably, I don't know, maybe even once a month for each photo set. Technically, I do 2 photo sets a month. So if you really like it, you could do even more of these. They're a little bit easier to output rather than going through and doing speed ramping and talking afterwards and all that stuff. There's a little bit more production to it when I'm doing that. But this is just kind of a live recording. Is pretty simple and was fun and hopefully is enjoyable for you as well. I'm doing less and less Photoshop in my work, and so edits tend to kind of go by quicker, I guess. I stopped using dodge and burn. That's where you can increase whites and drop down darks and kind of almost reshape where the light is on somebody's face or body, which mostly I did with athletic models, and I just haven't felt the need to do that as much. I think primarily because, well, I think my lighting is getting better. I think I'm better at knowing where to place a light on somebody's face and body. And so what I wanted to do today is just go through a few different photos and kind of run through it. So Fernando here was awesome. And here are all the pictures I took. And I want to go through my process here a little bit. So I think I ended up taking around 700 photos, which is probably more than I need, but it is kind of my standard. I always feel like I end up around with 600 to 700 photos when I work with a model on just one of these photo shoots for commercial purposes. And so this is kind of the general look of the gist of everything, different types of lighting. You'll see the color changes and all that throughout here. And then, so what I do next is I just run through them all. And I just scroll, I just click on it here. I'm just adjusting my camera settings, and I just go through it and I mark them. If I think there's a chance this could be useful or good for commercial purposes in general. I will say that wasn't my only aim for my shoot with Fernando. And so I've already done that. So I'm going to turn on my filter here. And then this gets reduced to these photos here, which to me there's something about them that makes them pop, have a hook, something interesting, whether it should be on social media, a website, or again, in this case with Fernando, just like my own artistic interest. And I'll go into that right now, actually. So he was just creative. I found him on Instagram. I don't know if he found me or I found him, but we connected, and he just had this really cool energy in his photos, almost like punk and hip and cool. And I was actually, I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but I had a vision of what Fernando was going to be like before I ever met him, and was completely not just pleasantly surprised, but surprised by how different he was in my imagination versus in real life. Just an absolute gentle soul, sweet, and nervous before the shoot, which is really funny because he was absolutely confident in the float tank and brought so much awesome energy that I particularly don't get from men in float tanks. For photo shoots, it can be hard to get them to move fluidly, and Fernando had none of those issues. So just for artistic purposes, actually, I'm going to go down one more filter here and jump into this. But what I wanted to do was play with some longer exposures, mostly with a flash, which means I get one clear image and then I add blur to it. You can see over here the light is blurred. He's a little bit blurred, but not a ton. And I'm not sure I'm done with this one. I'm not in love with the colors on that. But just going through here, what I wanted to get was a little bit more, I don't know if psychological or spiritual is the right word, or sounds pretentious, but really like this one. But trying to get more of the feelings that come up in the float than just capturing it through movement. And I like how his hand is ghost-like in here. And I think for me, I got what I wanted. I got some really cool shots that seem to have a message for me, like seems to have a purpose. I also really like this one. I just don't know if they're really commercial. I might release them still, like either as a bonus set or with the original collection, but you know, still making sure that there's like 20 or 30 images for standard use. So I'm just not sure how people will respond to these. But for my own personal taste, and this is one of my favorites here, also, I really like this style. I don't know if they're just a little more raw, a little dirtier, a little, just less clean. Well, that's pretty clean. I really like that one too. So yeah, anyway, what I want to do now that I have my selection, I narrowed it down from like 650 to only 200. So now I just can jump in here, and what I tend to do is go, okay, what are my favorite shots? What are the ones where the lighting is just absolutely perfect? And edit those, and then I start bridging out from there and go, okay, now do I have a lot of wide body shots, or do I have negative space shots? This one's still a little intense. Maybe that's a for me one, but you know, this one has a lot of negative space, and so I want there to be room for text or ads or whatnot. And so you know, if I don't have a lot of those from my natural selections, then I'll jump in there and create them in here. In this one, for example, if I were to edit this, I would probably expand it out, the baseline here in Photoshop, so there was more negative space. But yeah, here's one I like. So I'm just gonna start jumping in, and maybe I'll be quiet, and maybe I'll talk about my process a little bit too. Really been obsessed with lighting lately, and color. Oh man, I watched this show called Foundation. It's based off of Isaac Asimov's books, which I read in my early 20s, and really enjoyed, but they are very, as many sci-fi authors do, it's very concept and not character driven. And because, you know, they have these really cool ideas. That's a great reason why sci-fi exists, is to get these really cool ideas out to you, and for you to be able to process them through these people. But as I get older, I really like character pieces more. And so I'm not sure if I'd love it as much these days as I do now, or as I did then, excuse me. Gosh, can I do two things at once? Can I multitask? We'll see. Not my best skill set. I kind of like that with heavier contrast. But usually I do contrast, and then I come back and I'm like, wow, that's way too heavy. That's just always the case with my work. It's like dodging and burning in particular. As soon as I started working on that, I'd be like, yeah, this is good. And then I'd come back the next day and be like, oh, wow, I am a fool. And nice, there we go. And yeah, it's just a learning process. Subtlety is important, but you know, we want to catch eyeballs too. So sometimes I think I go overboard before reeling it back. So we upgraded our iCloud subscription. I want it brighter. And ended up getting Apple TV. So watch Foundation. And it was very character-based. In fact, it's kind of misleading at the beginning. It seems like it's all plot. And it's almost like an inverse of how most TV shows or even movies would go, where I'm going to go ahead and say that one's fine for now. You know what? I'm going to play with the color on the water a little more. Yeah. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to brush it. I'm going to do this awesome, somewhat new feature, select subject, and then I'm going to invert it. It's pretty good at selecting. Yeah, so not perfect here, but pretty darn good, and I can add on to that. The whole system in Lightroom has changed here for making these selections. Some of it's a little obtuse, a little confusing, but overall I think I've gotten used to it just fine. And the show, instead of going like character first and then showing you further and further out like the politics and all that stuff, this one starts with all the politics and then it goes in towards the characters as you go further in the show. Really different, in my opinion, how that worked. I'm not sure it works for everybody. I'm not sure everybody likes that style, but oh shoot, can I not invert it anymore? Come on. Wait, let's do that again. Delete you. Try that again. So we're gonna select, yeah, totally did that the wrong way. Select subject, then invert, and then I'm gonna paint away these legs here. I don't wanna get that in there. Promise I'll finish my story about the Foundation. It's very fascinating. Oh wow, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's try that again. This is my confusion between the old system and the new system. You can see it live. So yeah, all that aside, recommend it. Super cool. Beautiful color, beautiful lighting, kind of stuff that you would normally only see in a movie, and not like Marvel, which is kind of famous for real poor lighting, no dark blacks, all that stuff. This one just has incredible color and lighting, like to the point where I'm like, TV shows are pretty rushed, is my understanding. I don't really know, but it's a very rushed process. And the fact that it must have been Apple, and they want to get new subscribers. They're kind of a newer service, so maybe they were just like, take the time, take the money, we have it, do it right. And I just was kind of going nuts the entire time. I kind of feel bad for my wife because she started watching it too and fell in love with it, but I just couldn't stop geeking out about the lighting. It was so beautiful. Oh wow, that purple is kind of nice. I'm probably not going to do that, but it was a nice moment. Gosh, always tough for me to choose the watercolors. They all have such different feelings. I'm going to actually lift up the brightness of it a little bit. His face is dark. The highlight is on his shoulder. That's odd, but I kind of like it. I am going to just brighten up a little bit on his highlights here. I'm going to make these selections, and then I'm just going to grab the highlights and pull those up. Just a bit. Maybe the whites. I think that's plenty. Maybe a little too much. Okay. And I really enjoy watching YouTube videos on lighting, and I think it's really helping me out with making choices. I'm very limited in the float tank, on lighting, and I have to get creative, and sometimes I make tools, and sometimes my equipment falls in the water and gets destroyed because of that, and that's lame, but it's totally worth it. So anyway, when I started doing dodge and burning, one of the things I found out was, oh gosh, do I need to edit a podcast? One of the things I found out was that I was like, how do I figure out how to dodge and burn, like aesthetically, not just use the tool, but how do I figure out how to do this and make it look good? And one of the best recommendations I ever received was look at makeup tutorials. If you look at makeup tutorials, they're shaping, they're in post, because you have your body, that's the original. And then in post, you're trying to edit and modify that, which is a really weird concept. And it pushes some buttons for me and probably a few people out there. But it really helped show me what lines to look for in dodging and burning, and what the task actually is. And then when it comes to lighting, there are lots of tutorial videos out there on studio lighting and in outdoor lighting too, and really valuable stuff. But again, I kind of found myself finding painters to be more interesting, more like to supplement, not more interesting. I shouldn't say it that way. Just going in here and finding any specks. I'm getting less precious about bubbles in the water, but I don't want the buttons of the float tank reflected in there and all that. Not sure I like the color here. So yeah, what's her, Danica? She might know Danica if you're in the industry, as an oil painter, and like watching those videos and just seeing somebody from scratch create a piece where lighting comes out of their brain, or source material for sure, but really shows me just kind of what they're doing, how light falls, what looks attractive, and not necessarily, and I don't mean attractive like sexy attractive, I mean aesthetically, visually attractive. Gosh, I really don't like the colors there. And so yeah, anyway, I'm just finding that those videos are more interesting to me right now, supplement what I'm trying to do. Gosh, the color on this, I'm gonna have to come back to this one. I just don't know about you. Oh, nice, beautiful. Look at that. Like, I just feel like most guys wouldn't be willing to have this vulnerability, relaxation, expression. Really nice. Not to be completely sexist monster here, but I've been doing shoots for years, and it is something I've noticed. Ooh, I like that. Here's another thing. S-curve is really traditional. Bring the darks down. This is almost like your first dodge and burn, and bring the brights up, and then adjust the contrast as needed. And I've just been finding lately I enjoy. Sorry, that multitasking thing might not be working out. I enjoy a curve that's a little bit different. Kind of bring the darks down, increasing the overall exposure, and it just having this really soft increase. And speaking of oil paintings, like, I don't know, old church paintings, some Catholic paintings, that kind of thing, I feel like a lot of it has more this style, and it has the greens in there that usually, I mean, for years I've avoided greens in my photography here, but now I'm like kind of enjoying a little touch of green in it because it does have that painterly effect. I'm really enjoying my images looking like those old religious paintings, the old saints, Virgin Mary, all that stuff. And not to say I want to, like, in Photoshop give it cracks like an old oil painting or give it texture. That's not what I'm trying to do. I just mean like the visual, how the light falls. Really beautiful placement. Like, gosh, their understanding of light and color was just incredible. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'll come back to it, but I'm gonna go ahead and give that one a star. Love movement of water. Always makes me happy. Seeing those ripples. I really can't tell models enough to just keep moving. We find the right speed. I like that. A little intense. I really like the intensity he brought to it. I don't think it works for every shot for what people are going to be using, but I really like what his eyes are so intense. It's so good. Yeah, where was I? I kind of lost track that time. So yeah, again, I'm going in Lightroom. I'm going to see if things work. So anytime I do these this spot healing, it's going to find just another location of the image. Like, there's no real algorithm of changing the image. It's just finding the location. That's the only thing the algorithm is doing. So you get a lot of duplicates, and the eye really notices that quickly if there's a duplicate in a picture. And so I have to be real careful with that. So if it's not working for me, I jump into Photoshop. In fact, I usually just jump into Photoshop right away. Part of it might just be that I have two screens, and QuickTime isn't, as far as I know, good at recording two screens. If anybody knows a different way to do it, let me know. I'd love to just be able to jump back and forth with you. But yeah, ooh, gosh, really like that. Oh gosh, that's another thing that's happening with me. I like my work. It's really weird. I'm, as most people are, their worst critic. I am definitely my own worst critic. And so often, I think I could have done better. I'm not happy either with my work in the shoot with my camera settings or in post. I'm just like, I just don't feel like I'm totally hitting the mark. And lately, I'm kind of walking away and being like, I'm proud of that. That's kind of nice, which is refreshing for me. And with that being said, I will say there are plenty of times where I'm, even for the last few years, like I'll scroll through on my Art of the Float handle and let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty good. And one of my own images will catch my eye, but before my brain can process that it's my own image, I'll recognize that I like it. And that's a great way to get around my own, I don't know, ego or self-esteem or whatever the heck it is that doesn't allow me to like it in the moment. But also, I think if like I guess we're talking about movies, let's say you're the director of a movie, you're going to see all the things you didn't include, the things you cut, other color grading choices that you had to make, that kind of thing. And should it match? Ew, yuck. And so that's kind of a little bit probably what's going on with me, is that when I see it, I see all sorts of other things. And just for that brief moment when I'm on the scroll and I see, I see my own image, before I know it, I can just go, oh, wow, that's a pretty image. And then my brain can shut it down and go like, whoa, you could have done so much more, buddy. But yeah, I feel like I have less of that. Let's keep it dark in the water. Let's bring those highlights down. But there we go. And you know what? I don't want that leg so blue. I don't think anybody would ever notice, but for my own sanity, yeah, good. I'm going to really see if I can bring these highlights up harder, real high, and then make it a little bit softer with the contrast. Gosh, I just don't want to overdo the contrast, but we'll see how that works. Gosh, it looks like I painted color on him here, but that's just the light. It really hits so directly there. That was great. His girlfriend was here to help with the lights. Always helpful. I always love it when they bring a friend because they're more comfortable, they have more fun, and they're always willing to hold lights, which really helps me out. And I'm always like, listen, please don't get offended if I talk really directly at you. Because I'm multitasking on so many things. I'm worried I'm not going to come across as, a kind individual, the kind of person I'd like to normally come across as. But it's always worked out just fine. I think I naturally talk kindly enough to people. Never had a complaint. But I'm always worried about it. Okay, here's what I like about Lightroom, is the hue adjustment layer. It's, I almost wish you could separate these two and have a third one in between all of these for more detail, but for the most part, it's just really helpful. So basically, oftentimes skin color, especially when it's under the water, they'll have a green tinge to it. Possibly because there's a little bit of green in our water. If you think you have clear water, put a flash bulb on it, and my guess is that you're going to see there's some green in there. So you can usually use one of these sliders and pull that green to a more flesh color. Sometimes it's good to have it, like you should see the separation of the water. Sometimes I want to change it. In this case, I am going to change it a little bit here. I like this picture. That's kind of nice. Just going to give that a star. So all of these I just give 1 star, and then I walk away, either come back later in the day, later in the month, come back, and then I look at it and go, oh yeah, I totally knocked it out of the park. Nope, never actually say that. I go, okay, this is what I want to change, this is what I want to change, and then I either bring it up to a 2, usually I bring it up to a 2, and then I leave, and then I'll come back and just do that again and again until I finally feel like I can give it a 3 star. And once it's at 3 stars, then I'm like, yep, that can go to my Pixie set, go to the patrons, just go out there. Let's see here. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm trying to look for artistic images that are also good for social media. And I'm actually kind of surprised how many centers I see using images like these. It actually really makes me happy. But I think I'm going to go for a little bit more intense color with these. And something I've been enjoying, ooh, that's pretty. Something I've been enjoying is bending the light a little bit. That is not a technical term. That actually sounded really dumb. But what I mean is over here, I can pull between red and blue, and it can make a lot of really big and subtle changes to color. And so if I'm playing with 2 different colors, then things get really complicated and interesting. There's a guy, Jeff, I did a lot of that with and came up with some of my favorite lighting with Jeff, or I guess favorite images. So right now I'm just kind of going through and being like, what is it like to pull these around? What's it like to create a little bit different color? And I'll bring up Danica again. I was just watching one of her videos, and she talks about, ooh, I kind of like that. Like, just, you don't like something, you just build on top of it. You can just keep changing and changing and changing. And it felt very different than editing a photo, but at the same time, I think there are similarities. Is that the blue that's up so high? Whoa. It's almost what I want. Ooh, I like that blue on the lower skin. Let's see, what if I let that go? No, that's too much. So I want the dark darks to be bluer, and then I want to pull up the reds. And I might hue adjustment layer again to make that more, ooh. But then I'm going to bring the luminance down so it's not quite so intense. too, just a bit. And then, I don't even think I played with the curves here. So I'm gonna... I don't think there's any rule. There's definitely the S curve, but there's not like a rule of where to start with the darks. It's always gonna be, for me at least, based on my eye, where I want it. But you know what? I think I need to bring up the exposure first for a decent... Yeah, there we go. There it is. Now I'm gonna pull down the darks. And you know, the contrast goes very intensely when you do this. There is a way in Photoshop to do this without affecting the contrast, which is pretty cool, but I never use that. This is just kind of the standard way people do it, and what works in Lightroom. Oh, so many subtle different changes. Some I like more than others. And then bring down that contrast. So I'm not looking at the pink so much right now. I'm mostly looking at his skin, mostly his face, because that's where I think most attention is going to be. Kind of like that. I'm going to let those highlights a little bit. Now I'm going to jump back in to the hue adjustment. And is this really what I wanted? It's not very... Okay. Saturation. Ooh, I do like that red. But I want to bring it down. What I wish is I could select that specific color and then reduce the contrast on that. If anybody knows how to do that, please let me know. Comment below. Ooh, now I think we're talking. My question when I'm doing these is always, is this right for a float center? Is this something people are going to want to use? Because more and more I'm getting caught between wanting to do my thing, what I want to explore, and being sure that this is something somebody else would want to use. So I always, I do tend to make about 30 images per set. You know what, I'm just going to sit with that for a while. I like that. Oh, by the way, so this left side here, I will go into Photoshop and blur, not blur, I'll use why can't I think of what it is? Patch tool. What the heck is that called? Healing brush, something like that. Selection, and it will use an algorithm to grab reflections here and bring it over to the left. And instead of like Lightroom here, if I did that, in fact, I'll just show you here. It's doing the math on it. It grabbed hair. No, it didn't grab hair. That's actually light reflection, but it just is. Lightroom is amateur hour when it comes to that. Usually. Sometimes it's actually exactly the right thing. So I'm gonna 1-star that. And, I think I'm gonna go all the way to the end because I think there were some pretty cool lighting shots around here. Haha, look at that smile. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I think I just like just a little bit more femininity to these images. I think so many of my images with men are so masculine, and it's just great to shake it up. I think for I'm not sure I always hit the target, but I'm always trying to show diversity in one way or another. And I usually say like age, body type, gender expression. Did I say ethnicity? Like those things, always trying to focus on that. Though sometimes I will admit it's just easier to find people in this kind of self-selecting group of models who fit a particular body type or color. But in this case, I feel like there's something I don't normally talk about, like showing diversity in how you can express yourself or hold yourself. And I find that pretty cool and interesting. I might go in there later and get rid of these lights, but gosh, I usually do a lot of white balancing. I mean, that's not exactly what it would be, but I'm just kind of digging greens lately. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. So his skin color is a little pinker. I'm actually going to bring the blues down. So this one's going to be very cool colored. I'm going to bring up the vibrance. Gosh, I've been pulling down vibrance and saturation a lot lately, but I'm actually going to pull it up on this one. And then let's go ahead and do the S-curve. I'm going to find that, like, where do I want it dark? Knowing that the contrast will lighten things up, but where do I want the brightness? That's nice. And then I play with the contrast. The overdo. Nice. Very simple. Might as well just jump in. Sometimes I forget to do this, but oh, by the way, there's a hair on my lens or inside my camera, and so in every single shot I have to pull it out. Really annoying. I need to clean my camera, which is more often true than not when you're doing photo shoots. So I'm just jumping in here and just seeing if there's anything floating around. If this was ever used on a website, I would want people to be able to use it high resolution and not have hairs and things dangling around. Yeah. It is possible for me to forget that. Sometimes I never fully zoom in. So if that's the case, if you find an image, then I would say message me. There's like 100,000 ways to message me. And, oh, that's nice. And I'll go in and find the original file and send you a high resolution version that doesn't have the hairs and whatnot. So it seems like the light is hitting the ground, the base of the float tank, more than his face. So I'm just going to pull, I'm going to pull up the highlights on his face. Yeah. And just make sure, hey, this is what we're paying attention to over here. Yeah. Kind of like that. Just whenever I'm saying that, no, I am coming back to it. None of these are finalized. None of these are 3 stars. Oh, nice. Haha, that's cool. So just trying to stay in good habit here. I'm gonna look for any hairs. And if you're floating in a float tank yourself, or if you have a client floating in a float tank, they're not gonna have as many, like, I don't know, lint, things like that, ending up in the water because they're floating naked. But I float with people with bathing suits on, and so we'll find just like red lint floating around, little things floating around because people are just bringing that in with the clothes that they wear. And so I do find more stuff floating in my float tank after a photo shoot. Requires a little special attention. I gave a workshop on float photography at the Float Conference, 2022 Float Conference, which was so much fun. And sorry, can't multitask. Let me see here. Yeah, kind of digging it. Not digging the bruise so much. Yeah, so that went really well. I was happy about that. But one of the things that kind of came up for me was like the idea of showing to other people what I do, any fear, I guess, of people doing float photography. And the way that I see it is you should totally be doing your own float photography. What I do is I take out the edges of the float tank. I show what it feels like to be floating. I show what it looks like to be floating. I try to do stuff for your marketing that you can have all the time, but you should have stuff on your website that shows what your float tanks look like. You should show somebody getting into and out of your float tank. That worked out well. And you should do your own. What you'll find is that it's a lot of work. Scheduling, doing the shoot, editing, all that stuff. And so to have just a big old suite, a big old collection of images is tough. And so I think that's where I come in, is I can help with making sure you always have images, but you should definitely be doing your own, and you should make it look awesome. It should be, putting your best foot forward. No. Why are you doing that? So yeah, that's my take on people doing their own float photography, and I guess why I would want to teach? Teach? Do I teach? Show people what I do? Yuck. That's gonna be a... No. That's gonna be a Photoshop fix there. What is going on? Lightroom? Oh, wow. I'm gonna mess with the color balance on this one real quick. Ooh. I kind of like that, but I think I want him more yellow. Just a little bit. Add some warmth to his skin. Yeah. Do I want purple in there too? Nope, not so much. Kind of like that. You know what? Again, I'm gonna select his face and just make sure there's lots of attention on his face here with the light falling on it. If I were to dodge and burn, I would probably, I'd probably go over here and increase these stripes here of light and just make them pop a little bit more, but that's not really what I'm after with this. One of the best things I've learned watching professional photo editors on YouTube is, ooh, yeah. I kind of like that. What if I pulled down the darks? What if I played with the whites? Did I overdo it? Maybe. The answer will come to me next time I look at this image. You probably know the answer now. I don't. Is this gonna work? No, not really. No, yuck. So one of my things I've learned is even professional editors don't necessarily have a vision, and that's, I feel like, the difference between watching these painters is they have such a clear vision in their mind of what they're doing so often. Not to say there's not exploration and experimentation, but there's so much where should the blacks, how deep should the blacks be? What does that feel like? What if I raised them up? Where should the darks, how deep? Move it over here, lights. Just everything is this exploration. It's just going into your tools and then going, okay, now what if we play with the reds and mess with those? What is that going to look like? I think I want those brights even brighter. But I don't want this one to be super high contrast. I have another one that's similar to this with high contrast. I want it to be rich. That's all right. We'll see. That is one of the nice things, I guess, after years of doing this, is finding I can just go yeah, that's good for now, and walk away, and not go I need to get this right now. It actually really helps to move along. What if I rotate this? How does that look? Oh yeah, Lightroom has this fun glitch for rotating. Ooh. Would people like that? Never can tell. Really enjoy playing with reds and blues on people's faces. Always looks really cool to me. I think it's eye-catching. I like that one. This is more of a Photoshop edit to delete the background here. I feel like it's pretty good as is. I might raise the blacks a little bit. Yeah. It's nice. That's fun. I'll go with this one. I'll deal with what's on the left here and probably crop it so there's more negative space on the left here as well. Maybe. I like those ripples. But let's see here. I think the number one thing that calls out to me here is those reds are just too intense. Should have had the light a little bit dimmer. But fortunately, I can fix that in post. Just bring that luminance down. Oh, it's much richer. I like that. Can I make it redder? Purple? No, I think that's pretty good as is. I don't even know if I need to... Oftentimes I'll be like, it looks great as is. I don't need to pull the darks down. I don't need to increase the brights, the lights. But then I'll come back later and be like, ooh, gosh, that just looks so flat. And then I'll mess with it. So doing that meant the luminance is more intense. Bring it down. Bring it down, bud. Maybe I was wrong on this one. Undo, undo, undo. Oh, I kind of like that. Wow. What if I just had a soft curve like that and increased? Yeah, did I lose some of the blues though? That's neat. Indecision. You know, I want to bring that back to where it was and see if I can just find out the hue saturation level. Oops. Can I find an interesting way to paint this? Ooh, I like that. Everybody's got their own taste. But just playing around here. I'm gonna go back up here and see. I'll just bring that up. Not for the super highlights. I think it's okay to have some of that non-intense blue, but I really like in the bottom here. Really bring that up. Yeah, we'll see. Let me see if I can get this light out of the shot. Yeah, that's all right. This might be another one that looks better rotated. It's so funny. That's kind of the thing of like I was talking earlier about knowing your own images and seeing behind them all the other choices you could have made, all that. One thing is I see my angle of taking the picture. I'm standing outside of the float tank for most of these. I definitely got in the tank for a lot of these too. But you know, sometimes it looks unnatural to me to look at this point of view, and I make a decision based off that, which I need to stop doing. I need to do the same thing I do with other shots, which is walk away, come back, look at this fresh and be like, does that look natural? Because sometimes it doesn't. I think, you know, you want to get like eye level or slightly above eye level. Also the, what am I trying to think? Not shutter speed. The width of your lens. You want to make sure that's right too, or else like noses can be pulled out really far, or the face looks skinny. It just looks really distorted, and you wouldn't notice it with the person upside down because your brain is just processing their face differently. But once they're right side up, then it's like, oh, I chose poorly, and then you just can't use it, or you can just keep it upside down, and then you just pray to the water gods that clients don't decide to spin it around, which sometimes I see, and I'm like, oh man, it's yours. Do as you wish. What? Is Lightroom going to do a good job here? Come on. Apparently this takes a lot of processing power. Actually, that's not too shabby. Wow, I really thought it was going to look like there were just two rings of light here, but it just looks like the extension of it. Wow, I don't really see the duplication effect. That's cool. Ooh, best practices. Should have gone in and just deleted all this. Although it's not fun. Cool. I think that's it for now. I have so much work to do. There's really cool stuff going on with the Float Research Collective, and some really cool announcements coming out for that. I've got a podcast to edit and a YouTube video to edit for the podcast, and then I have float shop stuff to do. So I decided to run away from all responsibility and just have some fun recording this. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for helping me distract myself from all the work stuff. Oh yeah, this is technically also work, but it's always fun. So thanks for joining me on this. Yeah, if you have questions, are there people who watch this and want to know more? I don't know who watches these. They get a few views. Let me know if there's something you want me to cover, have questions, want to see more Photoshop stuff. Let me know. I really enjoy making these, and would just want to make them so that you enjoy watching them too. Bye.